Hello, and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. We're in the second week of the season, and the division is on fire. I am Eric, and with me today is
Oren.
I'm Sam.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Lee.
and this division doesn't know what it wants to be. I'm going to show what the records are very briefly here. We have one team sitting at exactly 500. Yay for Detroit, who ran into the White Sox after facing the best team in the world with the Dodgers. Cleveland and Kansas City have been fighting it out for most of the season. Minnesota's barely looking alive, and then the White Sox, after leading the division last week, have kind of crept down into the cellar. But let's be honest, the real story is on, what was it, Tuesday? Everyone got the participation medal because we were all in first place with 2-4. Yay
So
us.
I read an article from The Athletic. There's like a week one in review thing. The on Tuesday when we were all tied for first with 2-4, that is the longest into the season that a division has all been tied for first with a losing record. So
Nice.
yay us.
I believe it. Even when you're looking at the run differential, there's only been like one team with a positive run differential the entire time. Right now it was the Tigers. For the first like week, it was the White Sox. The Twins have been pretty consistently the worst. So even if you look at their Pythagorean, they're pretty much in line with what their record should be. I don't know what this division is going to be, but it does kind of remind me of 2023 Central Division, where it was the AL Comedy Central, rather than last year, where it seemed like everyone took a corner. But I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's a little too early to make that assumption because so just looking at the Guardians and the Tigers, we played the Padres and the Dodgers between the two of us, and the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, and the Padres aren't that far behind them because they started off 6-0, 7-0, or whatever. So I think the division has started off playing against very good teams and then playing against itself, which doesn't exactly help its overall win record when every time you play yourself, you're gonna have to lose somewhere.
And I think that's why there's 162. This is why there's 162 of these bad boys.
Yeah, and even though it is too early, it does feel like somewhere in the middle of 23 and 24. We're not going to have 3 playoff teams, but I don't know if it'll be as comedic a Central as it was.
Yet to be seen on my end. Just the quality of play so far this year across the board hasn't been maybe what it was last year. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 2023, but um, I think the key thing here is everybody kind of makes notice of who's going to kind of win the division by beating the other teams in the division. I think it's just as important to see who can really make hay against everybody else. That'll really tell you who make a world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had a couple different teams square off. We had first the White Sox and the Twins played, and then the Tigers and the White Sox are just finishing up. I'm not sure what the score is. Well, Oren or Lee, do you know what's the score right now as we're
Yeah,
recording?
it's bottom of the sixth. White Sox are up 3-1.
So, so it's possible the Tigers have already won the series, so we already know the who won that. But let's go back to the first part of the week where the Twins played the White Sox, and I can tell you going into it after being swept by the Cardinals, playing the White Sox game one versus Martin Perez, who has been a journeyman left-handed, we'll say fungible lefty, and he looked like an all-star playing against Minnesota, so that was really depressing. He had a no-hitter going into, I believe, the sixth or the seventh, and the Twins could get nothing going. And I can tell you, after the White Sox won that, they were 0-4, and it was looking dire. Or, and I don't know what you thought for the White Sox, but things were
Yeah.
good.
So obviously a emphatic win is always fun, no matter what the year looks like or how bad the team is. If this does hold the score here, which it very well may not, and we assume that the Sox took 1 of 3 from both the Twins and the Tigers have just looked infinitely better than the Twins. I know we caught them at a bad time, but I could there was cause for concern. That being said, this early in the season, it's like the second they had, and even in the second game, they were down like 3-0 through 4 innings or something, and then they just kind of broke out. They had that inning that they've been waiting for all year, where they strung together like 5 or 6 hits. They got put up a 5 or 6 run inning, and that could be psychologically what breaks them out of their slump. But the Tigers have just looked so good, so well rounded, even without Meadows, without Vierling. Both series have been pretty fun to watch, and it's honestly more fun to watch now that I know more about these teams.
Right. I know. Just the first game, like it didn't help that the Twins. So Chris Paddock, I don't think is going to be in this rotation again. It's his first start, but he was already to me the shakiest person in the rotation. He hasn't been that great since he was a rookie, and I think it was 2019, 2018 when he was a rookie. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. He had glimpses of looking good, and even this year, I bet he's gonna go. He's gonna have a couple starts where he shuts a team out or goes 1 or 2 innings or 1 or 2 runs. But I just don't think he's gonna make this rotation much longer. And when the offense is really not looking consistent, which is certainly not new for this team, I just they have 3 legitimate starters in AAA right now, all of which went like 5 innings, struck out 4 or 5, gave up 1 or no earned runs. Like they have 3 legitimate like replacements for him, and I kind of wonder and worry how long he's going to be in the rotation because they can't have multiple Chris Paddock blowups, especially when Bailey Ober had a blow up of itself earlier in the week too. So that's very concerning. The Twins lineup just doesn't look. It looks like 2 years ago. It even had flashes of last year where if you watch the team, they will score 1 or 2 runs early on and then just put up zeros for the rest of the game. And I'm not even then these are quick, clean innings. We're talking 8 to 10 pitches and they're back in the dugout and going out in the field. Like it's very frustrating to watch. And then once a week they'll pop up 8 runs. And it's just I don't know what this team is. The question mark with the team was already the lineup, and it's looking like it's the same thing as last year and 2 years before that. So I don't quite know what this team is yet, but it's the first week. We're going to be saying that a lot for the first month or so, which obviously sounds more like an excuse than anything, but it's also very, very true. So
there was a whole lot of taking strikes and swinging at balls. Jose Miranda was the worst defender, and I actually saw a chart about his swing decisions, but kind of up and down the lineup. It's hard for me from my couch to say that they might not have the best approach, but it doesn't really look like they were going up there with the plan.
let me tell you about Jose's Miranda's swing decision. The decision is yes, swing. He doesn't sit on anything. Like
Hey, no, unless it's a called strike, then he might take it.
yeah, well, then you do. He did hit a home run yesterday, which saved their butts. But yeah, he had like a game where everyone's streaky, right? But he can be exceptionally streaky. But he doesn't. He just swings. He can make contact with everything, so he chooses to. But I've only seen so many hard liners to third base or to the second base where they're double play balls. He's not fast. I'm not a huge fan. If Royce Lewis was in the lineup, he wouldn't be playing that much. But I don't know. I'm not a Jose Miranda fan, but I don't know, man. I'm almost done with the man.
I think your point is valid, Oren, that we are sitting on our couches watching this, but when you're scoring 0 runs or not scoring very many runs, I think your swing decisions are probably not good.
No.
Yeah, I've been sitting on the couch frustrated at Javi Baez for the past 3 years. So, yeah, it's very easy to sit at armchair, be like, why the hell did you swing at that? But also, at a certain point, stop swinging at things.
Right. And at some point, like Jose Miranda has to figure it out for himself. Like if he's going to keep swinging at something, he's going to be a 650 OPS guy, and he's not going to be in the majors very much longer. Like it is what it is. He's 27. He's not even that new. Time's up. Well, it's not up, obviously, but this is also very harsh for 10 days into the season. But this has been going on for a minute. So
on the plus side for the Twins, though, the bullpen looked good.
Yeah.
And Buxton looked really good. He threw his body around quite a bit out there. He's probably
Yes.
kind of nervous watching at home, but he held up. He was fine. Like you said, I think you're going to show it later. That diving catch he made was
Yep.
maybe the AL Central play of the week. And even though it is impressive, it actually is more impressive than it looks.
And I will say for him, like, I want to talk about that later, but like he's finally looks healthy, and like for someone who has barely been able to like play or like run the bases, he just looks like a baseball player again. And like for a dude I don't even know, I'm so happy for him. Like, god damn it, does he just need that?
And because there have been so many times where he has been on the field, but he's playing kind of gingerly, like
Yeah.
running at 80%, doing what he needs to do. You could tell that he's still feeling stuff. He looked like, he looked great out there.
Yeah. So I'm pulling for him. So it wasn't the only matchup in the year this week. So the Tigers and the White Sox also played. They're continuing to play now. So Lee and Oren, what have you thought from there?
Yeah, so what you said about Perez, yeah, he's currently looking like Clayton Kershaw against the Tigers right now. So maybe he is just actually good.
He's doing more damage to these Tigers than Joe Exotic.
How long have you been holding on to that one?
I thought about that like 10 minutes ago, and I'm like, I'll find some work it in.
Yes, but I have to say, okay, so here's for the past several years, the Tigers have been bad and the offense have been bad. Right now, the Tigers have 11 home runs on the season. Okay? In the year 2022, in the months of March and April, would you like to hazard a guess of how many home runs the Tigers hit that entire month?
6.
9.
They had 8.
Not
Yeah,
bad for
so
this.
8 for that entire month, and right now they have 11 in 8 games. So the offense is looking good, and I know it's the White Sox, but still scoring a lot of runs very early, which is very nice. I think they currently lead the MLB in first inning runs, which is very nice because statistically, if you are winning in the first inning, you're more likely to win at the end of the game. So the offense has looked nice. The pitching has been good with a few asterisks, pretty much. But again, it's hard to judge because we don't know how bad the White Sox are, right? We know the White Sox are bad, but we don't know how bad they are this year compared to last year. So it's a little hard to judge just based off of that. But I have to say, our offense looks good. The White Sox have good pieces. I have to say, Corey Lee yesterday, he got on base pretty much every at bat. I think. So I think that's a bright point for them there. Yeah. The one play he made at the plate was not good, but offensively he was getting on base.
Yeah, I mean, I like Corey Lee a lot. We have two pretty high prospect catchers in the system, Edgar Quero and Kyle Teal. So, but I really like the way Corey Lee plays the game. He's pretty fast for a catcher. He hustles super hard, real gamer, kind of reminds me of when we had James McCann, honestly. So maybe one of these minors prospects will be traded, and then he'll be the split time with whoever comes up. Probably Kyle Teal. I'm guessing that they might look to trade Edgar Quero or throw him in with a deadline deal. But yeah, nobody on the Sox has looked that good. And Andrew Benintendi is the only one who's hitting well, which it would be nice if we could build his value and trade him for something. He's got like 30 to 40 million left on his contract for 3 years. Sox would have to eat some money to get anything back, but that's the positive from the lineup and from the rotation. There were some good games. I mean, for the first 4 games, the starters didn't allow an earned run, but since then it's been like the opposite. So, that was just small sample size stuff.
So I have to ask about Benintendi's defense. Is he bad in left field? Because he didn't look great from what I was seeing.
He's played a lot of time kind of hurt in the outfield, so the numbers are going to be skewed a little bit. He's definitely not great by any means. The eye test, I think he's about an average for a left fielder, but it's definitely not like good. And if a team trades for him, it will be because they need a bat. And assuming that he can keep up a decent first half, And it will be a playoff team that loses a major outfielder. Like the Braves a few years ago, they won the World Series without Acuna because they traded for like the island of misfit outfielders that was Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, and Eddie Rosario, and they
Yep.
mashed in the playoffs, and it worked out well for them. So hopefully Benintendi has that sort of season. Maybe Luis Robert too, although I just think he's completely washed at this point. He's just a bust.
Benintendi won a Gold Glove with the Royals in 2021.
Wait,
So-
really? Damn.
Yeah,
Did the metrics back that up? Actually, I'm curious. I'm going to look that up too. I'm just
I think
kinda
the voters just didn't realize it wasn't Alex Gordon.
well, yeah,
Funny.
that's part of it too.
I'm kind of curious because like my first reaction when Lee asked, I don't think he's a good defensive outfielder, but I don't really know. Like he's just kind of underperformed for a couple of years, so maybe that's just anyone.
He looks
with a-
like he's
Well,
got a
and
little bit
there's-
of noodle arm too, from what I've. I mean, maybe it's
There's
just
a
because the
lot.
outfield's so
There's a
big.
lot of players who have won a Gold Glove who shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. His outs above average in 2021 was -1, which is 38th percentile. So not a butcher, not stellar, but it is what it is. Gold
Yeah,
gloves are always kind of fungible.
Sounds about right.
When was he actually? According to outs above average, he was a great outfielder in 2018 and then really took a dip in 2019. I'm going to assume an injury, but I don't know that. That's just me looking at sliders on Baseball Savant. So we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go into more of a deep dive into like the offense and the pitching here in a bit. But Sam and Dan, we haven't talked about you guys yet. How's it going in Cleveland and Detroit, or Cleveland and Kansas City? Sam.
Well, I don't know how it's going in Detroit, but I know how it's going in Kansas City.
You jerk.
A lot of up and down play to start the year. And again, it is the first week, so you'll expect some up and downs to start the year. But I think at least for the starters, the top three, Reagans, Lugo, and Waka, all three of them were able to have a better second start than they did first start. So that's a positive that you can build on. Bubic, who's currently pitching right now, has looked great in both starts. And yeah, I think the Royals had an 8-run game on Friday and a 11-run game on Monday, and they've had a lot of 1 and 2-run games in there as well. So a lot of ups and downs, but I think the guys who you want to see doing well to start the year have been. Jonathan India has gotten off to a good start. Um, the obviously Bobby and Salvi and Vinny, that those guys are gonna, put things together. Michael Garcia, who we'll talk about a little bit later, he's gotten off to a good start. So some up and down play to start, but I think for the most part, the guys who are going to bounce back are going to bounce back, and then the guys who you want to start well have started well. So I'm feeling positive right now overall.
Have you guys played 2 series or 1?
So we played the Guardians to start out, and then the Brewers, and now the Orioles.
Okay, so just 1.
I think they
I gotta
play,
say,
Third.
seeing as how bad the Brewers' pitching looks so far, getting shut out by them is ouch.
They're
Yeah, and
they're still the
They
Brewers.
should
They're
be
like
good,
the
though.
AL Cleveland, I mean the NL. Guardians.
yeah, and it's a major league team, so
Yeah.
you're obviously you're gonna have some ups and downs, but I think it did kind of stink to lose that series to them after what happened with them to the Yankees, but also the Royals scored 11 runs against them, so watching that game at home that day was hearing that crowd in Milwaukee on opening day was quite the Kafka-esque experience, just hearing the boos coming
Oh, man.
as early and often as they were.
I was watching their game against the Reds last night, and like in the fourth inning, they'd given up like 7 runs, and they were getting viciously booed. It was
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not having a good time.
They are not having a good time. They've gotten off to a bad start, but I also think that maybe in August or July we're going to look back and we're going to say, remember when the Brewers were, one of the worst teams in baseball, and they were getting booed in the third inning by their fans. So,
Yeah,
um,
all those teams that are like in the middle, we don't really know if they're how good or bad they are. Like Seattle or Milwaukee, like are they good? Are they bad? What side of that line do they fall on?
mhm.
Yeah. Dan, what about Cleveland?
Well, on my side of things, I appreciate Sam's optimism. I have to give a little bit of background here. I missed last night's Guardians game against the Angels. I was over at a friend's house. He wanted to watch the Final Four, so we were doing that. But with the beauty of ClevelandGuardians.tv, I could watch it this morning. Rob, please put the check in the mail. Anyway, but I was all excited for that this morning. Purposely didn't spoil it for myself, and woke up and watched a nice 10-4 loss to the Angels. So, not brilliant.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it kind of caps off what's been a tough week. We swept by the Padres, and we're outscored by the Padres in those 3 games by 15. So earlier when I was talking about how everybody fares against non-divisional teams, I think that's a good barometer for who might be real and who may not be.
Yeah.
Not a pretty start on that end of things. Now, San Diego hadn't lost until this weekend, so they could just be really good, but wasn't a good start to the week. Did win on Friday night. Had some heroics from Jose Ramirez that allowed that to happen. But even in that game, up 8-4 going into the ninth, and Emmanuel Clase looked wobbly again. Gave up 2 in the ninth. I ended up still winning 8-6, but wasn't the most secure of victories. And then, as I said a second ago, 10-4 loss last night to the Angels. 2 big culprits so far, and I'll mention the starting pitching. Will be when we get to who's not and who's hot. We'll get a little bit deeper into that, but they haven't been great so far. And then the infield defense has just been really something to behold, and not in a good way. And it's not just physical errors. One guy's making a bunch of physical errors, and that's Ramirez, which is shocking. I don't know if that's part of the wrist. I personally just think he's pressing. I think he's pressing defensively, if you can do that. And he's flubbing a lot of balls in the field. Beyond that, it's a lot of mental errors. We've had 2 plays this week where somebody made a really nice play, in the hole, backhand a ball in the hole or something like that with a man on first, and nobody covered second base. Brian Rocchio in neither instance covered second base. And it's just that kind of stuff. Balls dropping between fielders in the outfield. Things that don't show up in the scorebook as an error, but sure are one mentally. Extend innings for your starting pitching, more raise the pitch count, create more peril. And it's all the stuff that the Guardians were really good at avoiding doing last year. And again, as you guys were saying earlier, it's 8 games into the season. We're 5% into the season, but really needs to be cleaned up in order to kind of bounce back to looking like the AL Central Division winner and ALCS team that was in Cleveland last year.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and
Well,
I didn't know until very recently that if the ball isn't touched, it can't be an error.
yeah, which is stupid. Like,
That's
Which is just I mean, I guess the logic would be, who do you give the error to if no one touches it? But it's also like
What?
Salvi had a double the other night that just landed perfectly between 2 Orioles outfielders who just lost the ball. And it's like, it's a double in the book.
yeah,
but like that's an error because they just neither of them went to it. Yeah. But yeah, like the Tigers had a moment in the third game against Seattle. I kind of wanted to strangle Cole Keith because it was runner on first with 2 outs, and the ball goes straight towards him, routine play, except he just holds on to it and doesn't throw it, and then there's no outs, and the next batter 2-run double, and then we lost that game by 1 run. So, but like that wasn't ruled as an error because he caught it, he held on to it, he didn't throw it away, but he also didn't make the play, and so Skubal got 2 earned runs and a loss that should not have been credited to him.
Right. There's I listen to anyone who listens to the Twins and is listening to this is going to listen to Gleeman and the Geek, and it's no surprise where I get most of my baseball information. But Aaron Gleeman goes on a rant over why errors are still like a thing. Teams are not analyzing anyone based off of errors anymore. They have so like much better data. Why we're tracking it in 2025, I don't know. Like instead of, I think he even suggested. Yeah, I think he suggested even putting instead of putting errors on like the final box of the scorecard to put walks, because at least will give you an idea of what happened during the game. But yeah, errors are just there's too much gray area in it, or some just a dude looking at it going, yeah, I think he messed that up. But
yeah, no, it's like a lot of things in baseball. It's just tradition at this point.
right.
Well, beyond that, how do you credit that play in your scorecard though? Like you're gonna collect errors. It's just should they be so prominent? Should it be next to hits? Like, but I don't know how else you kind of score a ball hit to third baseman, he didn't catch it, guys on first. Like,
Well, I don't even know if they would like. Let's just say like because his rant is they should just eliminate errors. Well, that's fine, and it's not like teams are really evaluating it. But then like think of pitcher ERAs are going to skyrocket just instantly because how many unearned like, and that doesn't really matter in today's game. But suddenly everyone's ERA is going to be above 5 or 4.
well, even so, like
Eric,
how do you score that? Like, it's not a single. Like, what do you put down for that guy?
Just out.
Do you know how many?
Out or safe?
Do you know how many unearned? Do you know how many unearned interceptions Patrick Mahomes has in his career? The answer is a lot. In sports, the thing that happens is the thing that happens. Yeah, and in baseball, we have this weird thing where it's like, oh, that wasn't earned. They didn't deserve that. It's like, no, they scored a run. Like, scoreboard.
Or like the first play of the inning, an infielder makes a moderately hard catch, and they rule it or like drop ball, and they ruled it an error, and then the pitcher gives up like 6 hits after that, and they're all unearned because the first whatever.
I think we should swerve on this. That diving catch that somebody makes in the outfield that should have been a double, that's an unearned out.
Unearned out.
That's an
unearned out.
There you go. So then, does that add ERA back in then, or does it take off of innings pitched?
I haven't thought that through that far yet. I thought of it 15 seconds ago, but I'll let you know when I resolve that.
Well, when we're named commissioner for a day, because we're best friends with Rob Manfred now. All right. Anyway, so I think now we're just going to take just a deeper look at both the lineups and the pitching. Like I said, no one except for apparently Sam is all that optimistic over their team. I'm going to start off with the Twins because it just happens to be the one. Because frankly,
I will say I'm not giving effusive praise to the Royals. I would just say overall, generally positive about where they've been.
I would say I'm optimistic. It's just April's going to be rough. But yeah. I'm trying not to give it too high because we are playing the White Sox. But we did just play the Dodgers, so it cancels each other out.
Before we move off of this, I just want to say this is like a duality of humans thing going on because I'm just in the dumps at 3-5. And Lee and Sam, well, Lee, you guys are 4-4, but Sam's 3-5 too. And hey, well,
we're doing all right
so far. We'll see what happens.
I'm coming off of the Twins are coming off of a collapse, and nothing looks to have changed. So I have a question mark, but it's not a good one. Anyway, so moving on. So we're gonna just kind of look at the lineups. We're pull up Baseball Reference and just kind of look at the lineups and the pitching here. Just a little bit of a deeper dive. Just kind of go through them. Just a little bit of a deeper dive. Again, it's still early. We've already said that with plenty of buffers. I'm going to start with the Twins first because, frankly, I make the PowerPoint slide and I just put the Twins first because they're on my brain. In general, though, we'll go by division leaders. But the Twins hitting, oh, goodness. You can see at the bottom they are hitting a whopping 182 as a team.
Yikes.
Christian Vasquez pulling his weight with a -9 OPS plus, and it's not even the worst on the team because their $36 million shortstop is at -22. So thank you, Carlos.
Carlos Correa is on my fantasy team, and I was looking to see why I'm losing so bad. And I was like, what the hell? Why is Carlos Correa 0 for 17 to start off?
So I do want to talk about him for a sec because, like, he does have. It's not pretty. He is hitting the ball hard. I think he has like 10 balls that have been hit over 100 miles an hour. The problem is they're all on the ground, and he is not a fast individual. So it's a lot of lineouts. He's had some bad luck, but he hasn't looked nearly as bad. But yeah, he needs to start elevating the ball at least over an infielder's glove because he hasn't looked bad, but it certainly hasn't looked good. But according to Baseball Reference, he has cost the Twins half of a win 10 games in, which is not great, obviously.
He's also got a leaguing of 3 grounded in the double plays.
Yep. That tracks. It's actually like 2 years ago, the first time he came down with plantar fasciitis. I think he set a Twins record with like 31, 32 grounded into double plays. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty then. It's not pretty now. Outside of that, it's like Ty France. I'm not shocked. He's looked better than a -4 WAR, but like or a -0.4 WAR, but he's a slap hitter. He's like Jose Miranda, only older. They're just not getting much out of him. Willie Castro's been really good. He starts off hot. He's pretty streaky, so I don't even know if you can really count on him. Who has looked really good for some reason? Harrison Bader. He's had 3 home runs, all of them off of a slider. And if you go onto a spray chart on the Baseball Savant and click those 3 dots for those home runs, it's all a slider in the outside half of the plate near the middle or the end of the zone, which is clearly his home run swing because he hasn't done much outside of that. Other than those, he's looked fine in the field. I'm actually kind of surprised with his outs above average as a -1. For the longest time, Byron Buxton has been like the sole superstar in that outfield, and like he's clearly a caliber above anyone else who's been in the outfield with him. And it seems like next to him and Bader, there's been a couple plays where Buxton's like, "Oh, you can do this also," and like so that's kind of fun to see. But he's a role player. I don't expect much for him, but if he wants to hit a home run every 2 weeks, that's great. That's going to be a heck of a signing for $5.5 million. I just don't really expect it to keep up because pitchers are just going to stop throwing him sliders in the outside half of the plate.
I love that he has 4 hits and 3 of them are home runs. That's
Yep.
hilarious.
If you look at those, it's like the exact same swing, the same cut, and they all, like you can see, they land in the same spot. So it's just pitchers have ran into him. He has not really, I don't think, adjusted all that much. One thing I didn't like pull it out, but I do want to talk about Byron Buxton because he looks healthy.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Eric?
Yeah.
I have some breaking news here to the AL Central Rundown news
no.
desk.
Oh no.
Bobby Witt Jr. is a home run away from the cycle, and he is coming up next half inning. He would be the first Royal since the year of our Lord 1990 to hit for the cycle. The Royals have the longest active streak of a player not hitting for the cycle. So I will update you as this story develops. Back to you, Eric.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. I need the microphone. 1990. Please tell me it was his dad.
It is George Brett.
Oh, of course it was. Well, okay. Well, why can't it be
Also,
a
his
funny?
dad. Also, his dad was a pitcher. So,
Well, that would be really
be-
exciting, then, wouldn't it?
that would be pretty significant. But yes,
It's like the Twins apparently also have like they've gone the longest without a pitcher hitting a home run. It was like 1972, and that's going to live on forever because pitchers don't hit anymore
wow.
unless they sign Shohei Ohtani. But who knows? Could happen. So anyway,
45-year-old Shohei Ohtani playing for the Twins.
I'll take it. He'd probably still be like third in the rotation.
Yeah.
So
Still
I
can't
just want
speak English.
he might. Ichiro got away without speaking too much English. So anyway, Byron Buxton. His stats don't look all that stellar. I'll pull up the baseball reference thing one more time, just so people can look at it. It's not like he's doing. I think he has 624 OPS. He has a home run, 214 average. Nothing really spectacular. The stuff that really makes me excited is he just looks like a baseball player again. And for someone who has had knee issues for like 3 years, or he's broken his hand off a pitch, he got hit the other day, which was horrifying. He's just had horrible luck, or his body has just failed him in his 20s. And now that he's like 31, 32 years old, he finally looks healthy. He's running around. He's making diving catches. And back to back in 2 games with the White Sox, he hit a 450-foot home run. He made a really nice diving catch. He's crashed into the wall, and he's stolen a base. And like, he's doing it without looking like he's about to die after doing it. And it's really, I'm happy for a guy who I don't know, who's able to do that again, because he is so fun to watch when he's on the field. So the stats don't back it up yet, but I really like what Byron is doing right now. All right. The pitching. Not great. Kind of middle of the road. They've had 2 really bad blow-ups. Bailey Ober apparently was sick. He was literally had an IV hooked up to him like 18 hours before he made his opening start, which kind of raises the question, why in the first turn of the rotation they decided to throw Bailey Ober out, but they chose to. He was throwing about 2 miles an hour shorter or less than he normally does, and Bailey Ober doesn't have much of a fastball to begin with. He gets outs based off of deception because he's 6'9". He only throws 92, 93 on a good day, and when he's throwing 89, he's then remarkably hittable. He had another start against Houston. Wasn't great, but definitely wasn't it wasn't the first blow up. And then the real big story is no one's surprised. Chris Paddock looks terrible. He's pitching right now. I paused the game after the first inning. He gave up a run. I think the bases were nearly loaded. I don't have much faith in Chris Paddock. I don't think he's going to be in the rotation much longer because they have 3 options in the outfield or in the minors that I think are going to be called up here pretty soon. Except for the Twins really like holding on to veteran starting players. They held on to Joey Gallo long past they needed to. They held on to Alex Colomé longer than they needed to. They re-signed Emilio Pagan. If you are a veteran on the Twins, you have incredibly secure job security. They don't want to cut any assets if they can help it. The bullpens look pretty good. They keep throwing out Louis Varland, who is now a reliever. He's had a couple rocky appearances, but I think they've played 6 games. He's been in 5 of them. He's through. I think he reached 100 last game. He's just looked good. He's transitioning from a pitcher. So, yeah, that's kind of it for the Twins. I just wanted to show how bad Paddock has looked here. Again, I don't think he's going to make it too much longer. I don't want to dwell on him because it's depressing. So, yeah, that's it for the Twins, really. Nothing too exciting. Pablo looked good in his second start. Not surprising. He came back from the White Sox and didn't have a balk and threw a ball into the outfield. So just looked like normal Pablo again. So that was exciting. So next up, I want to talk about the Tigers pitching. Lee.
Yeah, so Tigers pitching, now that we have gone past the NL All-Star team and the Dodgers, is looking better. I'm going to ignore the 5.91 ERA that Tarek Skubal has because 2 of those runs shouldn't be counted against him. But besides that, Jack Flaherty has been looking very good in his 2 starts. He played first start against the Dodgers, gave up 2 runs, and then for the home opener against the White Sox looked very good. So it's looking like we're getting the Jack Flaherty that we got last season, which is always good to see. Casey Mize, he looked incredible. So I talked a bit in the season preview about his thing, right? So he's had a lot of injuries. He's coming back. So his in his 1 start, he had 6 strikeouts, .71 WHIP, didn't walked a couple guys, but not a whole lot. And his splitter looks amazing. First off, so I'm a Casey Mize believer, so I'm really excited about him. And Jackson Jobe, he's pitched today against the White Sox, gave up 3 runs, and didn't look great against the Mariners as well. Gave up 4 runs there, but he's a rookie. I'm not really worried about it because he's rookie. He's gonna figure it out. And in terms of pure stuff, his pitches look good. In the bullpen, Tyler Holton continues to be amazing. John Brebbia and Tommy Canley have both been looks like good signings for what we've seen. Will Vest continues to look good. Kenta Maeda is bad. We knew this at the end last year, but so in spring training we're like, oh, maybe he's back a bit because his fastball was looking. He got it up to like 93, and then he went out with a 6-run lead and was like, all right, here's 3 runs, White Sox, here you go. So he currently has a 15 ERA in 3 innings. And not the greatest. He's walking a lot of guys, giving up a lot of hits, and he gave up 3 runs the other day in 1 inning.
It is kind of hard. He's always been a finesse pitcher, but even when your average fastball is not even at 90, he's at 89.6. It's really hard to make a living, even though all he throws is spin.
Yeah, and he just had it just looked like he didn't have control the other day. He was all over the place. I think he gave up a couple walks and then a couple hits, and it was, it's not looking good. I'm not really a all right, get rid of him type of guy, but like, he's just taking up space. He's a 36-year-old reliever. We have so many young guys in AAA that deserve a chance in the majors. Why are we wasting our time? Why are we wasting our time? Because we paid him $10 million. That's why. Anyway, I mean, I'm not like rooting against him or whatever, but I just don't have a lot of optimism that he's going to work it out. But yeah, I mean, our pitching looks good for the most part. The real story has been our offense, because Tigers fans, Tigers threaten but fail to score is a running thing the past 8 years, but it looks like it's looking good. Riley Green, he has been very good. Torkelson, I'm hoping he's back. Please tell me he's back. He's had 2 home runs, and he had 2 home runs in 2 months. It took him until May to get to 2 home runs, and he's looking good. Cole Keith is a little bit concerning because he hasn't been hitting a lot, but he has been walking a ton.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to be. Yeah, he's got 11 walks. He's got a .441 on base percentage, even with a batting average under the Mendoza line.
It looks like his slugging and his on base should be flipped. He has a 441 on base with a 261 slugging.
Yeah, so he's walking a lot, so he's seeing the ball well. So I'm not concerned over him. Dylan Dingler is looking very good. Jake Rogers is looking.
Dingler.
Yeah, Dingler.
I love that name so much. I want him to succeed.
Yeah, I'm really
I would not be surprised if Colt Keith is the first person in Major League history to have that specific slash line.
I mean, I guess it works. I mean, it's a 106 OPS, but I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, it's weird, but he's walking a lot. So, I mean, he's seeing the ball. He's just not making contact is the thing.
How do you 11 walks in this early in the season? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it leads baseball.
Yeah, so in terms of who's doing well, there's that. But let's see who we had first. So Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green have both been very good. Kerry Carpenter had a 2-homer day for the home opener, and then another one the next day. Riley Green has hit 3 home runs in the past week. They are both looking very good. Kerry Carpenter, and I also like to note his thing has been he slaughters right-hand pitching but cannot hit against lefties. But on Friday, he hit one of his homers against a lefty. So please play him more, AJ Hinch. You know you want to. Riley Green, he's looking like he's just continuing to go up in terms of his production. 3 homers already, 13 hits, currently batting .361. Yeah, he's not. He hasn't got. Looking at the stats, he hasn't gotten any walks, which is kind of funny. But he keeps hitting the ball, and he's got an OPS over 1,000. So you know what? I'm happy with it. He's doing good.
Speak of the devil, he's represents the go-ahead run with 2 men on base in the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 outs.
Ooh, nice.
this
I
good.
haven't. Yeah, in terms of who's doing bad, Ryan Kreidler is awful, but this isn't exactly news for anyone who follows the Tigers. Yeah, so last week I was like, oh, he made a really good catch at center field. Maybe this will actually work out. And then I've had to watch him for the past week, and it's not working out. I cannot wait until we get Veerling and Meadows back. Look, his batting average is up to 158. That's above his career of 148.
Hey, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, like, not. I know, like, he's not fun to necessarily watch. He wasn't expected to be good either, so he was just kind of pushed into a spot. So, and for someone who's never played the outfield before to be, at, I don't know, 50th, 48th percentile in a position he's never played before, it's not the worst outcome.
It's not. It's just not good. I
No.
didn't. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, offense is looking good, like statistically top 10 in a lot of aspects, which is surprising as hell because going into it, it wasn't like, yeah, this offense is really a tick up a notch. It was, well, let's see how this offense is, and the pitching is going to be good. But if this offense stays the way it has been, then
this is,
oh my god, this team is good.
I'm just looking at, again, we're just looking at their baseball reference. You have the lead. Riley Green is leading the league in hits. Colt Keith leads the league in walks. Manuel Margot has a higher batting average than on base percentage, and it's the same as his slugging percentage. it's a really, really unique team. And then you have Kreidler, who's has his 3 OPS plus, which is still higher than Christian Vasquez's.
Yeah, so both Dylan Dingler and Jake Rogers have had triples, which is the first team since 1901 to have 2 catchers hit for triples in the first 3 games of the year or whatever bullshit. But yeah, Trey Sweeney also looks good. He had a home run and a triple, so he's got some pop to his bat, which is, if he can be a replacement to Javi Baez, that would be fantastic. But overall, I'm like pleasantly surprised, but also waiting to see if they come down to earth a little bit, because it seems like, yeah, because I mean we are playing the White Sox, and the Mariners aren't. They have good pitching, but they're also not that good in terms of the rest of their team. So, but yeah, that was a long, convoluted way to say I am cautiously optimistic that this team is actually going to be really good.
Yeah.
By the way, Green grounded out to end the inning after they brought in a lefty to face him.
Yay.
Womp womp. Next time.
Yeah, it looks like the Tigers aren't going to sweep.
Carpenter, not Green.
Okay.
No. I mean, not for that. I mean, as someone who wanted Max Kepler to learn how to hit left-handed pitching, and he'd have like a year where he would seemingly break out of left-handed hitting, he still came down as the Twins' worst, like 3rd worst ever career OPS against lefties. I mean, Kerry Carpenter's going to succeed hitting most of his matchups against right-handed pitching. Don't get your hopes up. Like if he puts together a good at bat and can like draw a walk, that's great. But you don't want him hitting left-handed pitching in general as a platoon. But
I just want him to play more because AJ Hinch loves platooning a lot, and it just gets really frustrating sometimes if he has a really good day and then he doesn't start because we're facing a left-handed starter. So, but yeah, I mean he's looking good. If he can hit occasionally against lefties, yes, that would be amazing. But yeah, Kerry Bonds continues.
Kerry Bonds, no pressure there.
It's been a thing for I guess since he was in the minors. But
oh, come on, he's not even a Hall of Famer.
You could also call him Kerry Wood since he's the hitter.
Yeah.
There's been a few things trying to make puns off of the Carpenter bit. Like the woodworker, I guess that's something that floated around, but this is not as fun. Kerry Bonds,
I don't know. He might not want woodworker. There's some immature jokes that can be taken with that.
Speaking of names that lend themselves to immature jokes, did you guys see Anthony Volpe's new nickname?
Oh God.
No. What?
Volpedo. It sounds all right, but it's when you look at it spelled out, it's Volpedo.
Oh no. Is that like the analropist for well what was the show? I can't remember it. God dang it.
Arrested Development.
There it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, next up we have the Royals and their
Ah,
pitching.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
maybe.
feeling okay. About the starters specifically. I think that Reagan's, Lugo, and Waka each had kind of a shaky first start, or a first start that wasn't quite as good as you might expect them to have. But I think all three of them bounced back in their second starts. Waka's line for his second start is uh, not going to look very good because there were some runs given up by uh, a man with a similar name as mine in the sixth inning. But those three guys, I think, I'm not too worried about them. They were able to bounce back after having a little shaky first start. But Chris Bubich has had a really good start to the season, and we can take a look at him there. Today, he just exited the game in the top of the seventh inning, gave up one run in 6 2/3. So he's off to a good start. Has been with the Royals, made his debut back in 2020. He came back from Tommy John surgery last season, and was able to be pretty effective out of the bullpen. Had a good spring. I think all indications, pretty much the entire time, uh, said that he was going to be a starter this year. So his first two starts, he's off to a really good, really solid start, and so that's good to see from him.
Has,
Uh,
has he always
Obviously,
given up? I'm just looking at average. He's like 99 percentile average excess velocity. Is he always going to have weak contact, or is a lot of pop ups, or what is he doing?
I think that's probably just because he's only had one start so
Fair enough.
far. These rankings are only going to reflect one start so far this season. So I would say that's just a product of him having a very good start against the Brewers as he did earlier this week. Which in that game he gave up a lot of weak contact, and I believe the Brewers did not score a run until very late into that game. So, but he's been he's been up and down in his career. He's very similar to what Brady Singer was
Mm.
for the Royals, where came out in the COVID season, and has been up and down, but is starting to put it together this season. So I've been very happy with Chris Bubich so far this season. And then if we can go back to those hitting or those pitching, yep. Yeah. So the five starters feeling pretty good about. Lorenzen only had one start, 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Fine, acceptable from your fifth starter. I think he'll have some better numbers as the season goes on. Estevez has yet to give up a run in the first couple starts, first couple appearances of his Royals career. Daniel Lynch off to a great start. Hunter Harvey, Lucas Urseg. Again, these guys pretty good. Not worried about any of the guys I just mentioned. However, Sam Long has given up a 12.46 ERA in 4 1/3 innings pitched, which is good for a negative .6 WAR, which is not what you're looking for. So we can go ahead and look at the Savant page for Sam Long. I have him as one of my Royals players who's struggling so far. He came into the game yesterday with 2-on with the Orioles leading 2-0. And he exited that inning with the Orioles leading 6-0.
Yikes.
And when I saw him coming out of the bullpen, I said to myself, "Oh, this game's over." And not in a good way. In the bad way. In the bad way of a guy comes out of the bullpen and you say, "Oh, they lost." Um, so yeah, he had a decent little season last year, where he was able to have a good some good appearances out of the bullpen. But so far this year, he has not looked very good.
I
So
did just want to
uh,
point out his walks per 9 and strikeouts are the exact same at 6.2,
Oh,
which is not what you want.
no,
all those.
that's not what you want. Those are both not great numbers.
Estevez
But
and
yeah,
Lynch
he's.
both have the same walk and strike
Oh yeah, I
rate.
guess that's true. That's an odd little
That is
anomaly
weird.
there. Yeah, yeah. How
Early
about
season
that?
stats. What do you do?
Yeah, yeah. Early season stats or something. But I can also report that because Michael Garcia got picked off last inning, Bobby is now leading off the top of this inning.
Oh,
So we'll see if he is able to hit a home run and complete the cycle. But anyway, so yeah, Sam Long off to a very bad start. We can talk about the hitters. Um, I think for the most part, the bats have been cold to start the year. Um, I think that certain guys who you see on your screen right now, this guys like obviously Salvi, Bobby Witt Jr., um, Michael Massey, guys like this have not gotten out to a great start. But I think they will obviously, turn things around as the year continues. You're not going to worry too much about players of that caliber, especially when it comes to Bobby and Salvi. And I think for the most part, they've been very up and down as far as scoring runs throughout the first couple weeks. I will point out Mark Canna, who the Royals picked up at the end of spring training, has a slash line, and now this is only 8 at bats so far, but he was in the starting lineup today. Has a slash line of 375, 545, 625.
that'll play.
So that is, yeah, that is quite the result from him. So he might be a decent little player for the Royals starting out. Um, but two guys who I want to draw the attention to, and we can go to first. We can go to Hunter Renfroe, who is someone who, and that was the classic Peter Griffin strike three, and he knew it from Bobby Witt Jr. there. So there will
Oh,
likely not be a cycle today.
oh.
Bobby Witt Jr. will almost certainly be sent down to AAA Omaha, if you know that meme. Um, but anyway, Hunter Renfroe has not been very good to start the season, despite the fact that he has gotten himself into the best shape of his life
Of course.
during spring training. 3 for 22, couple of miscues, couple of errors, bad plays out there in right field. Just not putting things together and not doing particularly well. You can see a very very sad spray chart right there of 2 singles down the line and a double. So I think
That's about.
again, I highlighted him as a player that needed to do better coming into the season, and so far for through the first week, not doing it so far.
Does anyone know? This is probably a bad question for me to ask on a public thing, but for Savant, the spray chart, was that an infield single or was that's where the ball hit initially and it was harder hit?
I
That's definitely
think,
where it landed. Like
yeah,
where it first hit the ground, probably.
Okay.
And they probably
Yeah.
like trailed off a little bit or something.
Because if it was an infield single, it would be picked up like on the grass or something. Unless it was like they were
Mhm.
against him, but he's a righty.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I believe that ball would, I think these balls were probably, line drives down the line. Um, but yeah. So not doing it so far, and a couple some bad play in the outfield. Which Hunter Renfroe is the classic example of, well, he's got a great arm,
Yeah, sure
and
looks
that's
like
about
it.
it. Yeah. So anyway, we can move on to Michael Garcia, who has gotten off to a very good start to start the year this year. Garcia has really been hitting the ball, really been on the ball pretty well. Decent spray chart, pulling the ball, hitting it up the middle, couple home runs. Um, the thing I'm going to point out, and this is going to be a kind of, you know, this is going to be kind of a negative, but last year he got off to a really good start as well. Last year he hit 3 home runs in the first week of the season, and you can see that he finished with 7 home runs on the season. He hit a home run on the first pitch of the year last year. So he's gotten off to a good start before, and he has fallen off. So my pointing this out and my saying that he's been very good to start the season is in hopes that he can build off this and he can have a good year for the rest of the year. So yeah. So like I said, with the Royals, some up and down play and some guys who are some guys who are doing well, and some guys who the clock is starting to tick. So I feel generally positive with where they're at, but I hope that they will. I hope that some of those guys will be able to build off this first week. So, and with that being said, looks like we will have to wait another day for the Royals to hit a cycle.
Yeah, I had an eye on that. I was watching the game day.
Yeah.
On a called strike too. Damn.
hmm
What
Do you
do
guys know that Peter Griffin meme that I was referencing?
Yeah.
I think I just saw it
Okay.
for the first time this week randomly, so I barely
Yeah.
know it.
So
Yeah.
Tiger's Twitter has used that every single time Ryan Kreidler strikes out. So
Oh,
Oh, is
Yeah.
it the one about Griffin doesn't even swing? That one?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the strike 3, and he knew it. Mr.
the fact
Griffin
that
will
he
almost
didn't.
certainly be sent down to AAA.
Oh my god, I love Family Guy, dude.
all right. So next up, we're going to go to the White Sox because Oren has to jump off here in a bit, so we need to cover them. We're gonna start off with their hitting and kind of familiar tones.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, this shouldn't take too long. There's not a whole lot to talk about for the White Sox. The one player who's been hitting all right so far has been Benintendi, and then Matt Dice is a backup catcher and with 13 at bats. But Benintendi, obviously that page does not scream superstar, but if he can have a first half this year that looks like the second half last year, and the Sox are willing to eat some of the $30 to $40 million, maybe less than that they owe him, they might be able to get something back if contender loses an outfielder to an injury, or I know the Braves aren't looking great so far, but they're definitely going to be contenders this year. And with Jurickson Profar, yeah, I mean, he'll come back after 80 games, but he'll be playoff ineligible. So that's where Sox fans' minds are at. We're thinking about which teams would be good fits, which guys are going to build their value. That's about it from the hitting. Otherwise, same story as last year. Very bad. What's our team's OPS plus? 81. Actually,
Yep.
a little higher than the Royals, but
For now.
that ours is going to stay like that. The Royals will go up.
Any worries on Luis Robert?
A year ago, I had the last 2 years, I had worries on Luis Robert. Now I'm just done with him. He's washed. Like he doesn't have the mentality to, it's not like he doesn't seem like he's seeking greatness. He's obviously very talented, has a lot of tools, but at this point, watching his at bats are like Groundhog Day. He just can. He's a shell of his former self at age 27, and his former self only has one good year, actually. So,
Yeah, during this series, it looked like he was just swinging at everything.
yeah, he looks lost up there. I don't have much faith in him building his trade value. We should have traded him a while ago when we could have got at least a decent prospect or two in return. But at this point, no one's going to want him. And then Corey Lee, as you mentioned earlier, it's nice when a catcher shows some hustle, and he's been hitting the ball all right so far. But other than that, the Sox have not had much offense outside of a couple of fluke games.
Looking at that Robert Savant page there for a second, I saw, great. Look at the bat speed.
Yeah.
97th percentile bat speed. But look at the whiff rate.
Yeah.
11th percentile whiff rate. So he's swinging hard.
And like the squared up percentage. He's not making good contact. You can swing the bat as hard as you want. If it doesn't hit the barrel, then like no one cares.
Coming up empty.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, but the Tigers have 3 on base, 1 out, bottom of the 9th.
Oh dear.
It's getting interesting. The Sox just pulled the pitcher. We'll see what happens here. But their bullpen is the worst part about the team, which is saying a lot. So I think some Tigers fans might be pretty happy soon, but you never know.
Eller just walked Green on 4 straight pitches. So
who hits behind Green?
I think it's gonna be. It looks like it's gonna be Ibanez.
Honestly, I'd rather face Ibanez than Green anyway. I mean, that run doesn't really, or actually, that run does matter. It's the winning run. Well, it should be interesting.
Let me look at. Yeah, I don't know if they had any pinch hitters or anything, but.
Okay, so as far as the White Sox pitching goes, it's been, very relatively speaking, a bright spot a little bit so far. Martin Perez has now had 2 really good starts. Martin, Burke, Cannon all had 1 good start. Shane Smith had a pretty good start that unfortunately he left some stranded runners that scored on the next pitcher, so he inherited a couple runs. Otherwise, it would have been 5 games without giving up any earned runs. So that's been kind of cool. But, teams don't have footage on these guys yet. They're not exactly predictable. They're unknown quantities. So, this is not sustainable. Martin Perez, though, there's a lot of time to give up runs before the trade deadline. But if he has an ERA under 4 by the deadline, then he'll be someone that someone's interested in.
It is a nice looking Savant page, but he's been kind of a journeyman, decent back of the end rotation starter for a while. So I don't know how much this space, but good for him if he can string it together.
Yeah, so that's about all there is to say about the White Sox at this point. As I said right before the call started, it's just straight up a lot more interesting to talk about the other teams right now. So my time slots will probably be a little truncated all season long.
No. Well, before you go, I do have to ask you. There was a possible leaked City Connect jersey for the White Sox, and they look oddly familiar. What's going on? How are people in Chicago feeling about these jerseys?
Well, I haven't talked to any of them yet, but I can tell you how I'm feeling about them, and it's that they're awful. It looks like, how you could buy a White Sox baseball jersey, a Bulls football jersey. They have those weird
Crossovers.
Crossover things, and usually they're at Target or somewhere that has a license, but not it's not like Nike doing this type of stuff.
Right.
It's like Walmart type stuff. I think that looks like that. I actually think that will sell pretty well. And I think they know that, even though it's super ugly. A lot of Bulls fans are going to want this because there's a lot of, Bulls Sox crossover. How can I phrase this? I don't know. I think there's a certain type of person that's going to think that's really cool. And then like the other 95% of people are going to be like, this is terrible. So,
I mean,
It looks like the free giveaway on Bulls night at
yes,
Yeah, first
Guaranteed Rate.
100%.
first
Yeah,
15,000 fans get this.
we have had the
Yeah,
giveaway.
that's exactly what it looks like.
No. I wish. The giveaways look way better than this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That-
they don't look good. It's just lame to be like, oh, our baseball jersey it's a sport of a team that's in our city. Isn't it cool? No.
Yeah, and also I don't think this is confirmed yet. It looks like it's might be kind of likely, but I'm holding out hope that this is some like unofficial thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of their old City Connect jerseys. They were fine, but it's not that. Like Sam nailed it. It's the giveaway jersey on Bulls night. Like it's not great, but we'll see.
And they didn't have the worst City Connect jersey either.
No.
They had
No, they're not that bad.
most people saw their first one as pretty favorable. But this one is objectively like so bad.
Yeah, it's not great, but all right. With that, I think unless anybody has any major thoughts on the White Sox or their jerseys, I think we can move on to Cleveland.
Tigers just walked in a run, by the way. Bases still loaded, 1 out.
There you go. Are they're
Here
in
we
Chicago, correct?
go.
They're in Detroit.
Oh, bottom of the which?
Bottom of the 9th.
1 out, bases loaded, 3-2.
Oh,
1.
and okay. I was about to say,
Yeah.
isn't that the winning run? Isn't that
Oh,
it?
it's 3-2 because they walked. Yeah, sorry, it's 3-2 now.
All right, fair enough.
sorry, I'm clear.
All right, we'll move on to Cleveland. Dan, how are the Guardians doing? We'll start off with their hitting.
Yeah, let's start with the good after what I had to say earlier. Offense has been just that. It's been good. Hasn't been great. Hasn't been elite or anything like that. But they're off to a nice, solid start to start the year. Really, in part carried by Jose Ramirez. It's good to see that Jose has seems to have shaken off the wrist injury that he had last weekend. Was back in the lineup last Monday and got right back to business. Actually homered in his first game back on Monday night, and had a 3-homer game on Friday night. So 4 homers over the course of the last week in total. Really, without him on Friday, we'd be looking at potentially no wins this week. So he's been a huge asset, as he always is, to the offense. In total, he's hit 348, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, and 6 RBIs.
Oh!
What happened?
Torkelson hit a double, walked it off. It looks like.
Yeah.
Or was it? Yep, Tigers walk it off, 4-3.
Congrats.
Live action happening here on the pod.
Eh.
And just to think you needed all that to beat the White Sox.
Yeah, it was I missed some of it, but yeah, walked in the first run, and then Torkelson with a live drive.
God, that bullpen is so bad. But good win for the Tigers. Honestly, I picked them to win the division this year, so I don't mind that loss too much if that helps me be right.
Most
that being said,
importantly,
I do have to hop off now. I got some other stuff to do, but I will rewatch this later to see what I missed.
Alrighty, have a
Good
good
one.
one.
Later, Oren.
most importantly, we have a team that's above 500 now in the division.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's
we
go.
did it. One team.
That was well worth ending my Jose Ramirez dissertation for. So anyway, he's had a really good week, coming back off the injury. Other guys, his quick hits on guys that are hitting pretty well. Stephen Kwan hitting 367 so far. Gabriel Arias hitting 292, 1 home run. Maybe most importantly, his strikeout rate is 20%. Last year it was 33. So he's striking out in 1 out of 5 at bats as opposed to 1 every 3. That was his biggest kind of bugaboo last year, was just not putting the ball in play to begin with. So positive signs there. Of course, it's still really early. Kyle Manzardo also slugging .593, 4 extra base hits on the year, including 2 homers. So 2 guys that, they were hoping to get more out of to hopefully improve this offense, and Arias and Manzardo have shown it, along with 2 mainstays in Kwan and Ramirez. On the bad half of the offense, the thing that's kind of drugged them down from being more than just good, Lane Thomas, Brian Rocchio, Bo Naylor, 3 extra base hits combined, 1 home run amongst them. That was Naylor last night, actually hit basically a meaningless home run late in yesterday's game that they lost by 6. But if they can get at least a couple of those guys going, there's really something to work with there offensively. As it is, good start offensively, and we'll kind of see where it goes.
Can I ask about the 2 caught stealings by Rocchio? Is he like normally a guy that steals a lot, or is it like a new thing he's doing?
I'm glad you asked, Lee. Both of those instances were 2 outs, men on the corners, Rocchio on first, and Kwan at the plate. And in both instances, he got thrown out, stealing second, with our best contact here at the plate with 2 outs. If you were to ever have anybody in the league, maybe that you would want to have, get a base hit and drive in the run from third, would it not be Stephen Kwan? I don't know if Vogt called for those. The one was a delayed steal, which is weird. So that was definitely a play that was put on, and I don't understand it. I can't think of, like I said, a better guy to have at the plate with a man on third and 2 out than Stephen Kwan. And that's where they kind of went guards ball and tried to run a play and try to steal a run. I'm for when we do that kind of thing, but just didn't feel like the right time or place. Rocchio's not a burner. He's not slow, though, either. I don't mind him stealing in general, but obviously not a good start. So that was the good. Moving on to the starting pitching, which is kind of the ugly here. A number of stats I want to throw out to just kind of show what we're working with. Guardians starting rotations ERA so far is 7.05. Last in baseball. Also last in expected ERA. So it's not that they're getting unlucky. Second last in FIP. They're last in K per 9, 28th in walks per 9. Has not been a pretty start to the year. They haven't been able to put hitters away. Getting to a lot of 2-strike counts, and there's been a lot of foul balls, a lot of not being able to get strike 3. Really have struggled so far. In particular, when I talk about walks and strikeouts and not being able to put hitters away, Luis Ortiz, biggest acquisition for the rotation over the course of the winter, and Logan Allen, number 5 guy, both are underwater on their K versus walk ratio. Both have more walks than strikeouts, to the point that Allen, he's only had 1 start, went 5 1/3 against San Diego this week. He had 1 strikeout, 5 walks.
Yikes.
He's a nibbler. He's a control pitcher to begin with. He needs to work the corners. He's not overpowering, but that's not going to get it done, obviously. 1 start, but I feel like almost like I'm talking about Chris Paddock here. But, it's got to be better in the coming starts. He'll be, I believe, our opening day starter on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. More to come on that. That will be against the White Sox, so maybe a chance to get healthy there. And then Tanner Bybee last night, 4 home runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings pitched. I'm sorry, 4 home runs around over the course of the year. All of them, I believe, were last night against the Angels. And so not good on his end of things either.
I'd have to look a little bit far, but just looking at their Ks per 9, are they just getting high contact teams? Are they just missing less bats than that? Because none of those look encouraging.
I can't entirely quantify it because they've got some guys with stuff. Bybee's got stuff. Gavin Williams in particular, he's throwing 97, 98, good curveball. They've struggled to get strike 3. They'll get 2 strikes. They'll get a bunch of foul balls. In particular, Friday night when Williams started, the Angels did a great job of fouling pitches off and putting the ball in play. And I don't know if that's pitch sequence. I don't know if they've just kind of run into some bad luck on that. It seems like a pattern that they're really struggling to put hitters away so far.
I mean, you did just play the Padres, and the Padres are a very good hitting team. I mean, it's kind of like what I've said about the Tigers when we played the Dodgers. I mean, it's a very good team hitting wise that you're going up against, so it kind of skews the data a little bit.
It could. I mean, that's more than a third of their games so far, facing a really good ball club. So, and two of those starts, those were the Ortiz and the Allen starts. So those are the two lesser of the starting pitchers so far. But one last thing I wanted to mention here, it's fun to rip on the White Sox. Oh man, how bad the White Sox are. The Guardians so far, in their 8 starts, 6 times the starting pitcher has pitched 5 innings or less. White Sox, 4 times that's happened. And then in those 8 starts again, 5 times that starter has given up 4 or more runs.
Ooh,
White Sox twice. So not, early. It's early. Like I said, 5% of the way into the season. Most, anybody's had is 2 starts so far. But I'm hoping we come home, get a little bit healthy against the White Sox Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because outcome so far isn't so good.
And any worry about Clase? I don't know if you talked about the bullpen.
A little bit. I did mention him up at the top. And I mentioned this last week when we talked. He throws a lot of strikes. I think he throws too many strikes, quite frankly. And I think he's predictable. It's fast. It's cutter, slider, 2 pitches that break the same direction, even if there is a change of speed there. I just think hitters know he's in the zone so much that they feel comfortable swinging, and he hasn't pitched inside a lot so far. When he did, he hit Jonathan India in the head on last Sunday. Sorry about that, Sam. But for the most part, he hasn't pitched inside. So I think he's got to be a little bit less predictable, and he's got to be willing to kind of throw out of the zone a little bit more.
I watched a really good video at the end of last season. Sorry to cut you off there, about like how Clase, his type of hitting is he's a contact guy. Like he goes for weak contact, but if you make contact and you make good contact, you're gonna knock it hard.
Right.
Yeah, you would think with him throwing so hard, he would be a high strikeout rate guy. He's never been throughout the course of, even when he's been last year when he was really great, he was striking out guys a little bit more often, but he's more so a weak that's right, he's a weak contact pitcher. But I think he toes a balance there because of it. And I think he's been in the zone too much, a little too predictable. And so I think it's a fixable issue, but I do think that there is some legitimate struggle there to start the year.
I think the Guardians also use him too much. Like I think he gets way too many appearances. It wears him out, and it allows the players to get better reads on him.
Not that this is
one of my frustrations so far has been how Vogt has used the bullpen to begin with. Friday night was a really good example of this, where I think Williams went 3 innings. Jacob Junis comes out, pitches the 4th. I don't think Jacob Junis threw 10 pitches. 1, 2, 3 inning, got out of it. And they immediately went to somebody else for the 5th inning. And so now the rest of the way, everything had to go just right. Nobody could have an extended inning because you needed to have Smith, Seawald, Herron, Gaddis, and Clase all pitch an inning in order to get to the end. He's had a quick trigger. It really showed up last year in the playoffs, and it's showing up early this year to the point that it would have just been nice to see Junis rolled back out there even to start the 5th, and that hasn't been happening. And they've just leaned very heavily on all those guys, not just Clase, and ultimately it could bite them both at the end of a year, but just in general burning guys out. How bullpens can be temperamental.
Clase could give up 4 times as many runs as he did last year and still have a great season.
Right. He could still be brilliant, but it's going to be very hard to kind of hold him to that standard last year, and you definitely shouldn't. But it just feels a little wobbly to start this year.
I mean, I just looked it up. His big pitch is a cutter, which is like Dan was saying, it's meant for contact. Well, the best example you have as a cutter-only pitcher is Mariano Rivera. His K per 9 was 8.6, and Clase's is 8.6. Rivera's career strike K per 9 is 8.2. Different eras, yes, you would expect that, but You don't need to strike a lot of guys out when you have that pitch, but and you master it. So anyway, moving on. Just want to talk about the other change. One of the changes for the stadiums. It's the end of an era because the keyhole in Comerica Park is now gone, and we should all have a little service for it. So the keyhole, for anyone who doesn't know, is the little patch of dirt between home plate and the pitcher's mound, and it's dead. And it was the last major league ballpark with it.
Yeah, so apparently this is something that the players wanted. So if the players wanted it, and the team responds, which I'm fine with, makes sense. Yeah. So the quote from the Free Press here is: "Players asked for it, and that's what happened. It was something that we were the last MLB ballpark in America to have that." So I guess it's like a thing with like rolling your ankle, going from the dirt to the grass. So, but I am a little sad to see it go because it's something that's been a part of the park that I've been to for a very long time.
What is the purpose of having that?
I
It looks
don't know
awesome.
actually.
It looks. I think it was like. This is like I don't know where I read this from, so take it from a grain of salt. It was like to help umpires kind of like square up with home plate because it would be even with home plate, so it can help you track the ball. Supposedly, I don't know.
I always thought, for some reason, I was always under the assumption that made it so that like the dirt that was kicked up from the mound and the dirt that was kicked up from the box didn't look as bad
Oh,
because you had more dirt, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It might
I
just be
don't
one
know,
of
but
those things that was only really relevant in like the 1800s when games were played on mud patches.
I'm gonna guess from the last 50 years, it was if you had it, it was because you preferred to have it instead of not preferred. I don't know. There was a lot of thought put in them.
But the other change to America is the backstop. So before I give my opinion on how it looks, I want your guys' opinion on the difference there because they put in new seating and stuff, but they also just changed how that looked.
Better. I don't know. It looks. I like the video
Yeah,
board around it. I don't know.
I like it. I like the. I don't. It's kind of hard to tell. That's supposed to be like a brick facade. I'm assuming it's not actual brick, but
Yeah, I'm assuming it's padded.
but
Yeah,
I like that kind of thing.
It looks kind of familiar. It kind of reminds me of Target Field, where they have the basically like where Comerica Park is, only it's on limestone, and yeah. I get some Twins vibe for it.
Yeah, so the part, so people from what I've seen online generally agree that it looks nice. However, the problem comes with the new seating that they have behind there, because those are the new like expensive experience, right? And it's like it actually sounds really cool, right? Like you
Yep.
get a parking spot, like food and drink stuff included. Although apparently they don't have that ready yet, which is kind of dumb. And the seats are like really nice and heated. The problem is, one, they're expensive as hell, and two, apparently you can't buy seats individually. You have to buy them in a package. So like, there's a bunch of if you watch clips from opening day, for instance, like Riley Green's home run, the back, all those seats are empty, but the rest of the stadium is packed. So it doesn't look great because you have to like buy like a 10 or 40 game package for those seats, and it's like $10,000. But
They look really comfortable. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
I mean, that's the
Well-
thing. Like, it looks nice, and I'm sure they're comfortable, and it's a good thing. But the problem comes with you have to buy them in a package. So
anytime something is done to a stadium, it's usually so that they can build more premium seating experiences. So
yeah.
Did they actually increase the capacity by putting those in? Do you know?
No, I think it's like about the same or slightly less. It's not. Yeah, they're not adding more seats for it.
I was going to say
If they did,
that's
they got rid
ambitious
of
if they
the
just
tunnel.
threw more seats in.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
the
don't-
seats are straight bigger.
I don't understand what the point of having a tunnel behind home plate would be.
It was
The
just like it was
umpires,
like the
isn't it?
umpires tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did spawn last season a fantastic meme because at the end of the games when the Tigers win, Paws the mascot would come out with the flag, right? But we got a bunch of images of Paws hanging behind in the umpire's tunnel at the end of the game, so it's just him lurking there
Nice.
during.
Ready to pounce.
So, yeah, it was hilarious because there were a lot of memes coming out. So that's dead now, but. Yeah, the tunnel was ugly. I like the way the backstop looks now, but the issue is going to be it's going to look empty, and that's not a great look.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
the
an
seating and stuff sounds nice, but you have to buy them in a package. So it's not unless you get them from off of one of those third party sites.
No. At least when you look at a Tigers game and the attendance looks low, it's because of the seating. But if you look at like what the Twins didn't even sell out opening day, and second and third game, if there was 15,000 in the stadium, I would be surprised.
Yeah, apparently the opening day was like the one of the highest attended games in Comerica history. I think it's like top 10 or something. I don't remember.
The Twins opened up they have something called Twins Pass where if you can buy a pick, you can get basically into every home game for like $4 if you buy, but it's like season tickets, so it's like $300. And they opened it up that for opening day, and they still didn't sell out. So good job, Twins. You've really done well with the fan morale. Congrats. Anyway. I just want to kind of go over the schedule over the next couple of weeks. I think I said last episode that we're going to have to change up our recording schedule. We're going to be once a week, but it might be a week or 10 days before we get our next episode out. So I did want to cover the next 2 weeks just in case. First up, I want to talk about the Tigers, who start off after they get done with the White Sox today. They have the Yankees. Have the day off, go with Twins, Brewers, and then they finish off with Kansas City the week after that. Guardians, as soon as they finish up with the Angels, go right into the White Sox, and then back to KC for I think the second series of the year, and then back to Baltimore, and then they're done with Baltimore for the year. Kansas City goes right into a 4-game series with Minnesota. However, it is Dollar Dog Night in Minnesota, so be there, everyone. Then they go play Cleveland, like I said, and then off to New York, and then they finish off with Detroit. The Twins, KC, Detroit, the Mets, which I'm kind of bummed because they're in Minnesota this year, and I wasn't able to watch them last year when they were in the in Citi Field last year. And then probably the scariest matchup they've had so far will probably be with the Braves after that. So we'll see how happy I am at the end of this 2-week stretch. And then finally the White Sox. They finish up with they go with Cleveland, Boston, and then should be a real stellar show with the A's coming into town and then back into Boston. So there's our schedule for the week. Oh, I didn't even show that on screen. Good for me. I'm sure that was real entertaining watching me just read from a screen there. Good for me. So what I would like to do now is go over our predictions from last week, and then we'll make our predictions for the next couple of weeks from there. So last week we had the Twins play the White Sox play Detroit, and Cleveland finished up Kansas City. Would you like
to share the screen this time?
Yeah, fine. It's just a spreadsheet. I don't know how interesting this will be for everyone.
Oh, because there's a lot of series coming up next, so it's easier to keep track of it this way.
So this is what we had last time. Based off our predictions, I was the only one that believed in Kansas City. Thanks a lot, Sam. And Cleveland lost last recording. From there, pretty much washed out from there. So our points, Lee and Sam are tied in first for picking those series correctly. Oren and Dan are second, and then I am in the cellar with one correct prediction because the Twins beat the White Sox. So yippee for me. So the next couple of weeks, we have our series are Detroit in Minnesota, Chicago and Cleveland, KC in Cleveland, and Minnesota in Kansas City. So with that, Lee, who are you picking?
So for Detroit, Minnesota, I'm going to have to go with Detroit for for this one. I think it's going to be really close, though. One of those games is going to be close for sure. White Sox and Cleveland. I'm going to say Cleveland because the White Sox are terrible. And yeah. For Kansas City and Cleveland, that's really tough. I'm gonna go with Kansas City for this one. I think they're gonna come back, and Cleveland's had a bit of a rough time lately. And for Minnesota and Kansas, I'm gonna go with Kansas because I don't really believe in the Twins right now. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
That what you just said right there, Lee, is probably the most offensive thing that you could have possibly said to me, referring to the Royals as Kansas.
Sorry,
Shame on you.
My bad. Kansas City, Missouri. That's right. I don't know why,
Yes,
but
thank you.
I always say Kansas instead of Kansas City. I don't know why. It's too many syllables.
That is the most offensive thing you can say to someone who is from Kansas City, Missouri.
My deepest apologies. I will be sure.
Who are you, Donald Trump?
I will be sure to address you by your full name, Kansas City, Missouri.
You didn't see it, but when the screen was up, I saw Sam just giving you the double birds the entire time.
Okay, my bad. Kansas City, not Kansas. I forgot that was such a... I also thought for a very long time when I was a kid, I thought Kansas City was in Kansas. So
Well, to be fair, we all did.
Yeah.
The name is Kansas City.
that.
Anyway, we got Oren's predictions before he left because he gave us a heads up that he might be leaving a little bit earlier. So, Detroit, Sam, Detroit and Minnesota. Who you got?
I'll go ahead and I'll take Detroit on that one.
Any reasons? They just look better.
Yeah, Detroit's the better team right now, so I'll take them. White Sox versus Cleveland. I'll go ahead. I'll take the White Sox. I'll give them one. I'll take the White Sox in one, or the Woat Sox, whichever one.
So, not to go back to your bit last episode, but you did say if you ever chose the White Sox, there would be a better an explanation. So,
yeah,
where's
the explanation. The explanation is the baseball gods are going to give them one at some point, and so I think that's going to be this one right here. Is the White Sox are going to have the baseball gods on their side. I'll also take the Royals in Kansas City versus Cleveland, and then I do have a question because the Royals versus the Twins. That is a 4-game series.
oh,
So what do we do? Can I predict that it's going to be a split?
Yeah, can I go
Yes.
back and put a split because I forgot it was a 4-game series because I think split.
I predict that is going to be a split.
Sam, yes, you can change. Lee, because you offended Sam, no, you're stuck.
All right, now that I hate crime you, so now I can't change my mind. That's fair.
Okay. All right, Dan, Detroit, Minnesota.
Trust in the one team that's above 500 in the division. Let's go Detroit. So I've done a lot of kind of rain cloud over my head over the course of this podcast about the Guardians, but Guardians over the White Sox here. I predict that at least one Guardians pitcher will go 6 innings, give up 3 or less over the course of that series. KC, Cleveland, the good vibes end there. KC over the Guardians. And then Minnesota, Kansas City. I won't hedge here. We'll go ahead and we'll go with the Twins, actually, over the Royals. Looking to get off the schneid a little bit with the Twins.
Oh, I don't know what I want to do here because Detroit looks so good right now. So I'm not even going, as much as I would love to put Detroit or Minnesota there. The Twins just offense looks too inconsistent. They're prone to slow starts, and they're certainly starting off slow this year. So Maybe I change my answer in July, but for now, Detroit is clearly the better team. Chicago and Cleveland. The White Sox have already burned me, so I'm going to go for Cleveland and just stick with that. Stephen Kwan's really fun to watch, and I just want to see them do better. And also, I don't believe Cleveland's starting pitching is going to continue the way it is, and this seems like a good reset for them. I don't know what the rotation looks like going into the series, but this seems like a good starting point. KC and Cleveland. Maybe I just believe in Cleveland a lot, and maybe I'm just sour on Kansas City, but it's actually kind of funny because everyone put Cleveland here, and then I did the exact opposite here. So, yeah, I just think Cleveland's just better than what they've shown, and I'm gonna cop out, and I'm gonna do a split here. I am really close to just saying KC will win it 3-1 for the reasons I talked about. KC's starting pitching has looked much better than I thought it would, even though Sam predicted they would be pretty good. They're going to make me a believer yet, and there's something. If Bailey Ober plays one of those games in Kansas City, Bailey Ober does not look great against Kansas City. So if they skip that start, I'd be okay with it. Chris Paddock is probably going to play one of those games there, and that's probably 0-2, and then you got to hope the other two starters pick up. So I'm going to hope for a split, but I'm really close to just saying Kansas City. But
I have to say, Aubert gave me something beautiful, and that is a picture of him standing next to Jose Altuve at first, and it's glorious.
yeah. He has a couple of those. I think he has one with Judge, too, where he comes up to basically his nipple. Next up, I just wanted to go over the highlights last week. We had Ryan Kreidler had a really nice play in center for Detroit, even though Lee is apparently completely soured on him and wants him cut from the team and baseball. And I think she even said hates his family.
High.
So
I've never been high on him. It was just a nice surprise that he looked decent in center. The day I never have to see Ryan Kreidler play on Comerica Park field ever again will be a nice day.
Well, Parker Meadows is coming back from whatever nerve situation he has someday.
And Veerling has been taking swings in the batting cage, so he should be back soon.
So I did ask for you guys to send in a couple highlights. First up, Jose Ramirez had a monster game against the Angels. Here he is against, I believe, Rafael Soriano. 3 home run game. Can't hate it. He does have a really nice swing. What I will say about Jose Ramirez, he has a very punchable face. Maybe I've said this before, but
the switch hitters are always fun.
Right. Especially when they're just that good. I also really like these C uniforms, too. I typically don't like their jerseys, but those look really nice.
Yeah, that's a nice new addition this year with the uniforms. I'm glad they brought that into the fold. His hands are just so fast. Like inside, yes. Don't throw inside. It's going to go bad for you. And that second home run, that was down. That was a good pitch. He still hammered. So he's hot.
Well, it was way up, and he smashed that right out. Damn.
There's just something about his swing. He can cover everywhere on the plate. And I don't know. Maybe that's just because he kills the twin. Well, he kills everyone. But it just feels like there's not a place in the strike zone you can throw him where he's not going to crush it. But, yeah, anyway, three homer game for him. Jose Ramirez has just been really good for a decade. I don't know how you can hate him. He just seems like one of the more likable people in the division or baseball in general. So, next up, we had Jack Caglione, who's not in the majors yet. But
nope. We're showing minor league highlights, ladies and gentlemen.
But to be fair, it's a hell of a highlight. So yeah. It's another home run.
This is Caglione's first home run in Double-A. So he's the Royals' #1 prospect. And it's hard to see the ball on this one, but this is a 464 home run, 464-foot home run that left the stadium.
The stadium. And not for nothing. He didn't just clear one fence. Oh my goodness, sorry, I messed it up. He clears 1, 2, 3, 4. He clears 5 fences.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Pain.
This is kind of an odd stadium that they have in Tulsa, but he hit it onto the street, so that is quite the bomb right there.
What position does he play?
First base. Also,
God,
one of
he
my
is.
favorite things about the Royals minor league highlights is that Northwest Arkansas's abbreviation is NWA.
Yeah. Is that a wrestling reference? Because I'm going to love it if it is.
NWA is a reference to a group of rappers.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, this tells you how
it,
lame I am.
yep.
Way to,
In the
way to be
words of
careful there, Sam. I think
I
you
was
I
about to
think you
say.
yeah,
explained that perfectly.
in the words of Jimmy Neutron, it's the cute multicultural boys with no attitude.
Well, I feel embarrassed and really stupid now all of a sudden. But for those who watch
Yeah.
professional wrestling, the NWA is, and something I can actually talk about on screen without getting censored or canceled. The NWA was the National Wrestling Alliance, which is, if you ever see a picture of Ric Flair with the big belt, that was them. So anyway, now I feel stupid, as if I haven't listened to any rap since 1992. Good for me.
hmm
Now I have to
Also,
find.
and for the listeners out there, Eric is a good decade older than me. So yeah.
Well, you could at least. All right, I'm 36, so like before everyone starts thinking I'm like 97 years old. But yes, you're not wrong. Um, I am the elder statesman. You monsters. You're all just too young, is really what this is. And now I lost this Buxton video. So what do you mean? There were video found. Sorry, guys. I'm killing time to talk
I'm
about
not
this.
old. Quote, there were video found, unquote.
How dare you?
I just found someone in my friend's Discord just posted the win probability chart of the Tigers White Sox game today. It's glorious because it's like at 85-90% for the White Sox, and then it drops as the Tigers walk
I
it off.
I hate the win probability chart. I think
Really?
that
I
is
love
one of
it.
the I think that is one of the stupidest things that we have invented in our society.
But why
I
though?
will.
Like, so I understand why, but
Okay,
it makes
well,
the
and I'll
last.
tell you what,
Go
last
on.
year during the playoffs on ESPN, they had it on like the
Oh
score
god, those were
graphic in
so
the upper
bad.
corner. And it's like a guy would get a hit in the second inning. It's like, ooh, the win probability went up 2% with
Oh,
that
that
hit. It's like, no, it didn't.
Okay. But that's true with
yeah.
any stat. If you're going to throw a stat all the time at it, it's going to get real annoying. But like for the context of the game, I think it's really helpful. I like
Those
it.
were really bad. That drove me nuts, especially during the Astros series. What I really hate is on Apple TV when they'll be like, "Oh, there's a 15% chance that he'll hit a double here," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Stop it! These are made up numbers. They don't mean anything.
I,
Stop it."
I will say so. Like for sabermetrics or people who really enjoy stats, they really do a crappy job of like explaining them in context or just throwing so many of them at you at the same time where you don't know. Like when they first started talking about OPS, nobody knew what an OPS was. Like, let alone is 800 good? Turns out yes, but like nobody knows what the average is. So anyway, I did find this. So for context, this is a diving catch by Byron Buxton. The wind was playing really in. He's going to make a play that really like Correa or I think Julian was playing. The ball just takes havoc with this. So it's just a simple pop up. He just keeps coming in. It is just kind of fun to see him go, holy crap, I need to like start running here. Straight pop up. Correa just kind of gives up on it, and then you just see Byron just adjust. He's so fun to watch, and
He
it's
looked
nice
like
to see him get up instantly.
he looked like he surprised himself that he caught it a little bit there.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
"What?"
you can definitely tell there's like a moment where he's like, "Oh crap, that's way in." But yeah, he just kind of effortlessly turns into a sprint. But yeah, I enjoy watching him. I just want one healthy season from him. If I can get that, that's all I want. He also had a home run, 450 feet in that same game, which is obviously really exciting to see.
Nice.
So, all right, and with that, that's all the notes I had for today. Does anyone have anything for the betterment of the group before we head off for a week?
I think we covered everything that I.
No, sir.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, with that, thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back we'll be back in the next 2 weeks, probably in the middle of the week, maybe middle end of the week going in here, but we'll be back. Thank you all for listening.